Zhao Yun bound his precious cargo to his body and raced across the battlefield, slaying countless enemies from his horse. Upon witnessing this spectacle, enemy soldiers gradually started to stand by, too scared to attack him. He made it through, one man against an entire army. He finally crossed the bridge into Liu Bei's camp, and from his chest handed over the infant son of Liu Bei and the future heir to the throne of the Shu state, Liu Shan. This is the greatest rescue story in Chinese history, the story of Zhao Yun. So when the Han Dynasty started to crumble, it gave way to the Three Kingdoms period of Chinese history, where three states would vie for power. One of these states was the Shu state, which came out of the remnants of the Han Dynasty, and Liu Bei was the leader of that state. Then we have Caocao, not Caocao. There's only one O in there. Caocao was also a warlord towards the end of the Han Dynasty, and he established the Wei state in the north of China. So you had Wei and then Shuhan, south of Wei, which was Liu Bei's territory. And then there was another state in the east called Wu, which doesn't really figure into this particular story, so we'll just ignore that. This period of time, from 220 to 280 AD, was called the Three Kingdoms period, or Sānguózhì, and there is a very famous semi-fictional novel about the Three Kingdoms period called Sānguózhì, or Romance of the Three Kingdoms. The story we are going to tell today is about a heroic rescue that is dramatized in the book Romance of the Three Kingdoms and can be found on stage by the Chinese opera and classical Chinese dance companies. Zhao Yun, who is also called Zilong, from Changshan in modern-day Hebei province, is the general at the heart of this story. Here he is in Peking opera. And you can even play Zhao Yun in his traditional Peking opera costume in the game Dynasty Warriors 9. So what makes Zhao Yun so great? Well, the story of his daring rescue of Liu Bei's son. Cao Cao was attacking from the north, and Liu Bei was retreating with a group of civilians he was protecting, but they were falling behind. Amongst them was Liu's wife and son. But the civilians were slowing down the army. Here is how it is described in the supposedly factual historical text, Zhao Yun's biography in the book of Shu. Cao Cao chased Liu Bei to Changban in Dangyang. Liu Bei abandoned his wife and son and headed south. Zhao Yun carried the infant, who would be the future lord of Shu, and protect Lady Gan, who was the future lord's mother. They both avoided any danger. He was promoted to General of the Standard as a result. I know, it's an incredibly basic description that doesn't give many details. All we know is that Liu Bei had abandoned his wife and kid. Maybe he had been forced to because he had to lead the army ahead, and Zhao Yun protected them, carrying the child. They both go to safety, and he was promoted as a result. But in the fictionalized version of the tale, in chapter 41 of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, we get a much more juicy story with deeper meaning. It contains heroism, sacrifice, and the Chinese idea of loyalty to one's country over all else. And who knows, maybe this one is real. In Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Zhao Yun insists on going back for Liu Bei's family. Liu Bei at first refuses, knowing it is a suicide mission, but then reluctantly agrees. Zhao Yun rushes off behind enemy lines. He first encounters Lady Gan and sends her on her way towards Liu Bei's camp. But in Romance of the Three Kingdoms, there was another lady, Lady Mi, or Mi Fūrén. In real life, it is thought that Lady Mi was Liu Bei's wife, and Lady Gan was actually his concubine. The child, Liu Shan, was actually the son of Lady Gan, but in Romance of the Three Kingdoms and in the Chinese opera performances based on that story, for some reason, the child is with Lady Mi, suggesting maybe the author thought he was her son. That is the version of the story that is told. So what happens next? Well, Lady Gan is already safe, so Zhao Yun goes further into enemy territory looking for Lady Mi and the boy. He finds Lady Mi, who had been hit by an arrow in the thigh next to a hole in a wall, where there was also a well. She's holding the child in her hands. Zhao Yun wants to save them both, but Lady Mi knows she is too injured to make the journey, and if he tries to protect both of them, possibly none of them will survive, and then Liu Bei will have no heir to the throne. Zhao Yun tries to get her to get on his horse, but she insists that she is too injured. Then enemy soldiers start approaching. While Zhao Yun is distracted fighting off the enemy, Lady Mi leaves the child and jumps into the well, killing herself, and solving the predicament with the ultimate sacrifice. Zhao Yun is now free to give his all in protecting the baby, and thus succession of the throne in the Shu state. Before he leaves, he uses all his strength to push over the wall, and rocks pour down, filling up the well, creating a grave for Lady Mi and sealing her body inside so the enemy cannot have access to it. He then sets off on his epic ride back to Liu Bei's camp, where he defeats dozens of warriors rushing across the battlefield, as if he is a one-man army. This then catches the attention of Caocao himself. Caocao was amazed and thought Zhao Yun was an incredible warrior, the type of general he would want in his own army. Thus, he didn't want to kill Zhao Yun, so he gave an order. The lack of arrows being shot actually made it easier for Zhao Yun, since against arrows flying through the sky at him, he was merely a mortal. But in combat against men, he had godly powers. He fought off dozens of soldiers, all the while protecting the baby, and made it to the bridge across the river that led to Liu Bei's camp. Legendary warrior Zhang Fei was there guarding the bridge. He then hands over the baby, who miraculously survived, to Liu Bei, and Liu Bei is so moved he won't even let Zhao Yun kneel. He was torn about this mission anyway, and still feels it may not have been worth it to risk one of his greatest warriors for his son. But Zhao Yun and Lady Mi's sacrifice turn out to be worth it, because the baby grows up to become the next ruler of the state of Shu, Liu Shan. In Romance of the Three Kingdoms, at the end of chapter 41, they leave you with a poem about how heroic Zhao Yun or Zhao Zilong was. 血染徵袍透甲紅，當陽誰敢與爭鋒？古來衝陣扶危主，只有常山趙子龍。Blood stains his robe and his armor is all red. At Dangyang, who dares to challenge him? In ancient times, charging an enemy and braving danger for his lord was none other than Changshan's Zhao Zilong. Alright guys, that is the video for today. If you like amazing stories like this, why not check out Shenyun Performing Arts? It is the world's top classical Chinese dance company, and I am the MC of one of the 8 touring companies we have that tour the world simultaneously. In the past, we have portrayed the story of Zhao Yun on stage, and in this year's performance, we will have other similar stories from Chinese history brought to life through classical Chinese dance. If you're in the Americas, Europe, or Asia, chances are we may be performing in a city near you. Click the link below to watch the trailer for the 2025 show, and if you do go on to buy tickets, you get a waived booking fee on all our US shows with our code LCN2025. The link is below. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new, and we will see you next time. 再见!